of your, and one of the board members here is now going to read that into the record.
Yes.
We do have one statement that this is a letter from the LaBianca family, and it will be read by Mr. Giaquinto at this time before we recess.
Yeah, and also, normally at this time, as you know, next of kin could speak if they wanted to. And we also have a number of, there's several letters that we received that are in the confidential that are in opposition to the granting of a parole date, and one of them is a petition-style letter. It says that they don't believe that you should be released, and then a bunch of people signed it. And then we got this letter, and it says the LaBianca family wishes to have the attached two-page personal letter to the Board of Prison Terms read into the record as allowed by statute. And it says, it's dated May 19th, 1998. The subject parole hearing for Leslie Van Houten, May 28th, 1998. Manson and his manions thrust our family name into public focus when they murdered Sharon Tate and her house guest one night. Then they killed my former husband and his wife in a most brutal manner the next night. The shocking criminal actions became known as the Tate LaBianca murders. We lost our privacy and our obscurity. My family never became vocal. We did not become activists. We relied on the justice system to seek and find the justice that was due us. We have never been asked by the district attorney's office to participate in opposing the release of any of the killers. After all, they all received the death penalty, and that was all our family could expect. But we can no longer remain silent. Let me preface my remarks by this statement. We do not desire to become activists. We do not desire to be bombarded by the media and have our privacy destroyed. Yet we must make a statement about the parole hearing for convicted murderer Leslie Van Houten. She entered the home of Leno, father of my children, that August 10th, 1969. She participated in the deaths in that home. I know she says she only stabbed Rosemary after she was already dead from the relentless stabbing of Tex Watson. I know she denies having stabbed Leno. I even understand that she has been a model prisoner for all these years. It doesn't matter. Leslie Van Houten has been fed, given medical care, clothed, and housed for nearly 30 years. I understand she even completed a college degree and a master's degree. My children had no such gifts. They, like other law-abiding citizens growing up, have had to face the realities of life without the help of their father. It has not been easy for them. I know Ms. Van Houten has a website with Susan Atkins. I know she has a lot of friends who work for her freedom. That is unfortunate. Leslie Van Houten chose her own path. She chose to follow the instructions of Charles Manson. She chose drug-crazed killers as her family, and she became one of them. But what about my family? When do we get our parole? When does Leno get his parole? Sympathy for these killers, and especially this one, is misplaced. Sympathy, understanding, and compassion should be given to the victims of murder and not the killers. In all these years, not one of the killers has expressed remorse to our family, not even Leslie Van Houten, who says she did the least in the murders. If she is really ready to parole, then amends to the family should have already been done. When Leslie's father appeared on Larry King Live, my family was denied speaking on air by the producers to answer Mr. Van Houten's accusations that the LaBiancas didn't care. Not one of us was allowed on the show. Make no mistake about it, the entire LaBianca family has suffered untold deprivation, frustration, anxiety, and financial ruin because of these murders. Leno's mother died of a broken heart just 6 years after her son's murder, losing the business to merciless creditors, the family business that Leno was managing and she and Leno's father had founded in the late 1920s. We emphatically opposed the release of any of the Manson menage. When the death penalty was repealed after their convictions, their sentences were converted to life with possibility of parole. Even the California state legislature found that unacceptable. They voted to make the entire Manson family an exception. The California voters also took action, and so we now have life without parole, as it should be. It's a sacrilege to Leno's memory that the family has to be confronted with parole hearings for these individuals every few years. We are glad for her maturity and her model prisoner status, but that does not equate to freedom. We also want to say that Susan LaBerge, daughter of Rosemary, the murdered wife of Leno at the time, does not represent the LaBianca family. She certainly did not represent us that May 4th, 1990 parole hearing for Tex Watson when she made that pathetic appeal for his release because she forgave him. As Ms. Van Houten continues her incarceration, let her continue to remember that what she did that fateful night was forever. The Manson family mark on this society is deep as the stab wounds to their helpless victims. That's it.
Thank you.
That was a letter from Lino LaBianca's first wife. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, you'll hear the board's decision, and we'll have our guest decision.
And the panel has reviewed all the information received from the public and has relied on the following circumstances in concluding that the prisoner is not suitable for parole and would pose an unreasonable risk of danger to society and a threat to public safety if released from prison. And the number one reason, the commitment offense, it was carried out in an especially cruel and callous manner. It was carried out in a manner which exhibits a callous disregard for the life and the suffering of another. In this crime, multiple victims were killed in the same incident. And his conclusions are drawn from the statement of facts wherein the inmate and her crime partners had responded to the residence of the victims. At that time, the victims had been tied up, had been subsequently both stabbed to death, and several comments and writings were placed up on the walls prior to their leaving. Previous record, she had an unstable social history and prior criminality, which included several arrests for grand theft auto. There were no convictions relative to those charges. However, she did have an arrest for burglary, where there were no charges. Also, she was an admitted user, heavy user of LSD and marijuana during the time of the crime that the crime was committed. Institutionally, the prisoner has not participated in sufficient beneficial self-help and therapy programming and needs time to get that type of therapy programming that is needed. And the panel makes the following findings: that the prisoner needs therapy in order to face, discuss, understand, and cope with stress in a non-destructive manner. Until the progress is made, the prisoner continues to be unpredictable and a threat to others. Nevertheless, the prisoner should be commended for completing her college education while she's been in prison, for the numerous programs in which she has participated, as well as for being disciplinary free for, I was trying to figure it out, over 20 years?
Yeah.
Your last 115, I thought, they said 76, so over 20 years. However, these positive aspects of her behavior do not outweigh the factors of unsuitability. There'll be a 1-year denial.
1 year?
1 year. The panel finds what I'd like you to do for the next 1 year is to remain disciplinary free.
Thank you.
To continue to upgrade in any vocation or education that you can possibly get into, and to participate and continue to participate in any self-help and therapy programming. I know this is a kind of a change over the last few years, but you've been programming very well. I think that you're doing well. However, the seriousness of this crime is something that is very difficult to get around. And I think the LaBianca family said it very eloquently in their letter.
Yes.
They lost somebody. For the rest, they'll never know. So we want to wish you the best of luck. Mr. Giaquinto, anything you would like to add?
No.
Mr. Douglas?
No, I have nothing.
Well, that will conclude the hearing. The time now is approximately about 1:23. And good luck.
Thank you. Thank you very much.